So if you're a Bangladeshi business owner, you've probably heard about Brazil. It's this land of massive opportunity, right? But it's also guarded by this fortress of customs and trade rules. So the big question is, how do you actually get inside? Let's figure that out together.
Okay, first, let's just wrap our heads around the scale we're talking about. In 2023, Brazil imported over $240 billion worth of goods. I mean, just let that number sink in for a second. It is a colossal pool of demand, a truly massive opportunity for any country that exports.
But, and this is a big but, for Bangladeshi exporters, getting a piece of that $240 billion pie, it's just not that simple. Because when you actually look at the trade flowing between our two countries, you see a picture of, truly untapped potential. And the numbers really tell the story here. Look at this. Brazil sent a whopping $2.7 billion worth of goods to Bangladesh last year, mostly stuff like sugar and cotton. And in return, Bangladesh sent just $175 million back. That huge gap, that is exactly what we're here to talk about. So, what's really standing in the way?
While the first major hurdle is something people call the Brazilian tariff wall, it's not just one tax. It's a whole multi-layered system that's designed to protect their local industries. And, it can be really daunting if you don't understand how it works.
Okay, so it all starts with this thing called the Common External Tariff, or CET. Think of it as the baseline import tax that Brazil shares with its trading partners in the Mercosur bloc. On average, it's about 12%. But believe me, that 12%, that's just the price of admission.
And this is where things get really tricky. The Secretary General of the Brazil-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce puts it bluntly, the final tax on your product can be more than half its value. So how on earth do you get from a 12% tariff to a 50% tax burden? Well, it happens through a process that they called the tax cascade.
And here it is, the tax cascade in all its glory. It's a compounding system, which is the key thing to understand. You start with your product's value, then you add the import duty. But it doesn't stop there. On top of that new total, you add a federal tax, the IPI. Then, on top of that, you add social contributions called PIS/COFINS. And for the grand finale, a state-level sales tax, the ICMS, gets slapped on the entire accumulated value. See how each tax just builds on the last? That's how that final cost just balloons.
And this directly hits Bangladesh's key exports right where it hurts. For things like textiles, apparel, leather, and footwear, you're already starting with a base tariff that's pretty high. We're talking 18 to 20% in some cases. And that's before the rest of that crazy cascade even kicks in.
All right, but let's say you've done the math, you've factored in all the taxes, and your product can still compete. Well, the financial hurdles are really only half the battle, because beyond that tariff wall, there's a whole other challenge, a hidden regulatory maze.
So speaking of that maze, there's another number you absolutely have to understand if you want to succeed in Brazil. And it's this one.
86.4%. That's the percentage of all products imported into Brazil that are subject to at least one non-tariff barrier. Now, these aren't taxes. They're rules. They're regulations. Everything from special certifications to specific labeling. And they can stop your shipment cold if you're not ready for them.
And these barriers can be anything, really. We're talking strict health and safety rules, very specific technical standards for your product, precise labeling requirements, all in Portuguese, of course, and even mandatory certifications from Brazilian agencies like Inmetro. It's a long checklist, and you have to get every single item right.
So, okay, high tariffs, a complex regulatory maze. It sounds pretty tough, I get it. But here's the good news. Things are actually getting better. And, most importantly, you do not have to try and navigate this fortress all by yourself. Brazil has been modernizing, and there are some key allies ready to help you out.
And you can really see the progress. Thanks to digitization and a single window system they have called Syscomex, Brazil has literally slashed the time it takes to clear goods for export. It used to take over 300 hours. Now it's down to about 108. This move toward efficiency is also helping the import side, making things faster and way more transparent.
But honestly, the most important tool for any Bangladeshi exporter isn't digital at all. It's human. It's the Brazil-Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry, or the BBCICI. It was literally created for one reason, to help businesses, just like yours, bridge this gap and find success in Brazil.
Think of the BBCI as your guide through the maze. They're the ones organizing trade missions, giving you critical market intelligence, and connecting you with local partners who actually understand the system. They can help you navigate all those tricky certification requirements. They are, without a doubt, your essential guide on the ground.
All right, we've looked at the challenges, we've looked at the tools you can use to overcome them. So now let's pull it all together into a simple step-by-step playbook for your business.
Here it is, your 5-step playbook. Number 1, calculate the full landed cost. I'm talking about that entire tax cascade. 2, get all your certifications and labeling perfect before you even think about shipping. 3, get in touch with the BBCI early and often. 4, play to your strengths. Focus on what makes Bangladesh unique, like sustainable jute or high-quality knitwear. And finally, number 5, find a reliable local partner in Brazil. Seriously, they are indispensable for getting you over those final hurdles.
Look, the Brazilian market is complex, for sure, but it is not impenetrable. The path to entry is actually clearer than it's ever been, the tools are there for you to use, and the demand? Well, the demand is undeniable. That massive trade imbalance just shows how much room there is for growth. So really, the only question left to ask is, are you ready to take the next step?